Good evening and welcome to the second episode of Triple Chat, online on air on Jadbuzz FM. I am your host, Damon Dunkley, and with me is two brilliant students from the University of the West Indies. We want to say special welcome to our listeners as this week's topic is whether or not the Creole language should be considered as an official language. Isn't this going to be epic? But before we go into our lively discussion, I am going to ask my guests to introduce themselves. Ladies before gentlemen. So, Miss Bagalu, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arena Bagalu. I'm a first year student at the University of the West Indies, currently majoring in journalism, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you, Miss Bagalu. Jaden Scully, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a first year student majoring in digital media productions in the University of the West Indies.
Okay, listeners, remember, sit back, listen, and be educated as you're listening to Jad Buzz FM on Triple Chat. Now we're going right into our discussion. People in the Caribbean are often entangled in an ongoing pursuit to find their identities. What was developed in the 17th century when slaves rather from West and Central Africa were exposed to learn and nativize the vernacular and dialectal forms of during the Middle Passage. People, Ariana, Scully, these has been an ongoing debate on whether or not Creole should be an official language. What are your take on that?
I actually do agree with the fact that Creole or Patois should be an official language.
And I completely disagree that Creole should be an official language in the Caribbean.
I will go. Yeah, I actually agree with Jaden Scully. I agree that the Creole should be an official language in the Caribbean.
Okay, I'll take that. So, Jada, why you think that Creole should be an official language?
Okay, well, Creole should be an official language because students tend to learn more efficiently in their native speech. People tend to learn more efficiently while using their native languages. More often than not, the school systems in the Caribbean, educators tend to stray away from teaching their lessons in the native tongue. According to Benson and Kosonen, educators argue that in countries where a student's first language is the language of instruction, they are more likely to excel in educational processes. In addition, research has shown that this is an improvement in engagement with multilingual students. There are obstacles that are found within the educational system, and so students must not be interrupted in the development by yet another obstacle that can easily be avoided. An article by the National Clearinghouse for Bilingual Education highlights that students were forced to learn in English language as opposed to their native language, and they were not functioning at their optimal learning capacity. Interruption of education development to this extent may result in academic failure.
Thank you, Jaden Scully. That was the first claim to support his fact that Creole should be considered as an official language in the Caribbean. Now, I am going to shed light on my claim to support my argument. So, I strongly believe that the Creole should be considered as an official language in the Caribbean as it offers our people a sense of identity. According to Jarrett, 2008, the Creole language serves as a symbol of identity. He highlights that the social value of the Creole language is that it provides a symbol of group identity, togetherness in the wake of politics, economics, religion, and other tribulations of our economic past. Also, Sheba and Tate 2002 highlights that the British Caribbean manifests both global and local identity through complex language behavior, including Creole and Code Switching. It is the Creole and Code Switch. It is the Creole rather. It is the Creole which connects globally to other speakers of Creole, to the British youth culture, to now accept Creole as an element to the worldwide Black music culture. Our Creole, as it has its own grammatical structures. It's very unique. Grammatical structures and not nuances rather, which makes it unique from any other language. It was created from. This allows people to identify that we are from the Caribbean, right? The Creole language allows us to know who we are. Each Caribbean territory have that different way of speaking Creole. If I went over into the America and I speak rather, people will know that I am from Jamaica. If a Trinidadian speak, they know he's a Trinidadian because of the language we are speaking. We are from the Caribbean as we speak Creole. And I leave you with this quote. We know what we are, but not what we may be. Perhaps it's possible to wear an identity without becoming what you pretend to be. That's why I believe that the Creole should be considered as an official language as it offers some sense of identity.
Very nice, Mr. Dunkley. And from my
Wow,
third
Mr.
point,
Doctor, yeah.
for my third point, I believe it gives people a sense of inclusiveness. An official language is a language that is used in day-to-day official government communication. According to Chowdhury and Holihan, constitutionalizing an official language or languages could bring a higher significance to a particular group of people and may exclude those whose languages are not recognized or may cause some to feel unconfident in using their language of their choosing. If we exclude the language of the people, it is also in correlation with the exclusion of their culture and significance. And that's something we do not want in this society.
Great points, but I must say I have to disagree with those points as
Hold on, Miss Bagaloo. Hold on, Miss Bagaloo. It's getting hot. It's getting really hot here. It's getting really hot in this building. But before we go into our counterclaims and hear what Miss Bagaloo have as she's disagreeing, we're gonna take a short break. So we will be right back with more from Triple Chat. But before we go, here's a public service announcement by Postdemic.
Hello?
Wagwan Daisy, you hear what happened to George?
Lord God, is what happened now?
Them say COVID kill him. His hard ears. Him hard ears no Daisy. I follow rumors and not listening to the facts that fully vaccinated people is least likely to die from the virus.
Why? I saw it serious. Me I run go take the vaccine.
Book your appointment now. Visit the MOH website at Vaccination Blitz, call 876-555-2910 or visit the nearest vaccination site. Daisy, get vax and save your life.
This is a public service announcement from Postdemic, stitching the pieces back together.
Welcome back to Triple Chat, online, on air, on Buzz FM. I am your host, Damon Dunkley, and here with me is Jaden Scully and Ariana Bagaloo.
Yes,
for the listeners who are just joining us, we have discovered all the supporting claims already. You heard from Jaden and myself. Now it's time to hear from Ariana Bagaloo with her counterclaim. Ariana, you're on the mic.
Okay, so I strongly disagree that Creole should be an official language in the Caribbean, mainly because of our source from Communication in Tomorrow's Caribbean. It highlights that Caribbean countries in their development stage have always been concerned about their identity and perception. Let us talk about communication and transparency. The Caribbean is defined by tourism, hospitality, beaches, fun, and a lot more. Am I right, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Definitely.
Okay.
Or beaches. Oh my God. Bahamas
Yes,
is popular
especially
for
our
that.
beaches. Tourism, overall Caribbean is defined by tourism. So the danger of communication is the misrepresentation of the truth. For example, oftentimes the good parts of the Caribbean are shown to tourists to attract them to take a trip. However, when they come and experience firsthand, the other side no one speaks of. So social media plays an integral role, whereas youth or middle-aged persons today use social media platforms to demonstrate their commitment to social, economic, and economical justice. Caribbean privacy is celebrated because public exposure can lead to disruption and removal from places of comfort and privilege. The Caribbean must practice transparency and honesty so that visitors can know what to expect when they visit the Caribbean islands. That is it.
All right, Miss Bagaloo. I'm here you're explaining something, but we didn't actually get the claim. You did not state the claim. So what's that claim?
That Creole should not be considered an official language because it is not yet standardized.
I know Jaden must have something in that tank to
Of
refute
course.
that.
Of course.
Okay, Jaden, go ahead with that refutation or that rebuttal.
All right. Although there are differences in the language, the history and culture of the language ensures it to be grounded within general understanding. According to Nara Lingu, language reflects perception as well as the history and explains why certain ideas and beliefs are so prominent and profound. Even throughout differences in spelling and pronunciation, comprehension amongst the people are not lost.
Just to add to what Jaden is saying, um, because the Creole language is not standardized in the Caribbean, persons or individuals who actually practice Creole or speak Patois, sometimes it leads to stereotyping. People look at those individuals who spoke that way as like they're ghetto and they are not,
Right.
they are low class. So
Yeah.
I believe that
Yes.
that standardized point should, I think it's not really solid enough, because if we take out that and allow our Jamaicans or our Caribbean people to speak Creole, speak their native language, that stereotyping would stop and allow us to feel comfortable while speaking and not being described as a low class or being ghetto. So that's my say on that.
However, Damon, another claim that I have to make is that Creole should not be considered an official language in the Caribbean because it is considered as a non-genetic language. You know what we mean by non-genetic, right? So,
Definitely.
as everybody may know, the Caribbean we faced slavery and all that. So it was a mixture of the Europeans and the Africans. So the Europeans, using their superiority, they tried to teach the Africans how to speak, well, quote unquote, proper English, right? So I think that Creole is like a mixture of European and African languages, and that is why it's often stigmatized as broken, corrupt, ungrammatical, right? So this is why I believe that Creole should not be an official language in the Caribbean.
Jaden, that sounds like a solid point right there.
Solid,
Jaden,
but not solid
I hope you
enough.
have something in the tank can refute that
Of
or
course, of
even give a
course.
rebuttal.
Yeah, so many languages have aspects that are in common with one another. An article from Naranyanglu, highlights that languages are in relation to a family tree. Basically, they are a handful of languages that derive from one another. The language from which other languages derived are known as proto-languages. So basically, there are a lot of languages that actually derive from Latin, but are still marked down as official languages. So I don't see why a language that takes certain aspects from other languages would not be deemed as an official language in comparison to the other ones.
All right, listeners, here you have it from our debaters. And listen, we're going to shift a little bit from the debate, but just discuss a little about the Creole as a whole. Guys, to be honest, I'll be honest with yourself. You guys rather the standard English, or you guys rather speak in that Creole language?
If I'm being honest with you, Damon, I rather speak I'm a pro Jamaican. Let's just put that out there first. I'm a proud Jamaican. I could not be any more proud, and I could not think of myself as being born in another nationality. However, speaking English, I think that is very important, not just only to us, because I feel as if we speak Creole, I feel that we're just bounded to just Jamaica, and I think that there's a whole wider world out there, right? So I think it's both. It is good to to practice standard English, to practice speaking properly. Also, never forget where you come from. So that Creole
Mm-hmm.
is, in you, born in you, made. You get me? So I think that both of them are important. However, I feel that Creole with speaking Creole, you're just like bonded to the Caribbean as it is.
Yeah.
But as I said, the world is a big place and you're bound to go places. So knowing how to speak properly so others can understand you, it's very important. So you can communicate effectively and efficiently, and
Right, right,
just
right.
Yeah,
just
not to
go out
cut you,
there.
Ariana, not
Mm-hmm.
to cut you, but in the essence, sometimes you're in Jamaica and women or females doesn't like to hear when a male or a man or anybody of the sort call them gal. But
Right.
it was through our legendary Louis Bennett Coverly who came up with these dub poets, gal, run go by some season, gal and boy. So
Mm-hmm.
I always think to myself, why these females feel like it is a disrespect to be called gal when it's our legendary Louis Bennett who actually,
Right.
come up with that little slang or that little saying. And as
Mm-hmm.
well, and boys are called boy and
Mm-hmm.
not boy at times, and there hasn't be an issue with that. But I don't understand why it's an issue to call a female gal. Uh,
Right.
Right.
Ari, can you
But
speak to that? Do you have a problem with being called gal?
uh, to be honest, no, I really don't. Well, let me not say no. If someone from my family are very close to me that says gal, I think that it is the Jamaican in me. So like if my
Right.
grandma says gal, my mommy says gal, my aunt, cousin or whatever says gal. But let an outsider say, a gal, I'm going to take offense to it and I'm going to feel like, he or she is disrespecting me. But I don't know. Maybe it's the Jamaican in me, but like I said, the moon, I only accept when like family or friends, refer to me as that. But because I'm
Yeah,
thinking that they're not going to mean anything by it, right? But I don't know because I'm around my family and friends. I know how they think, I know how they operate. But around the next person, outsider, and they just call me girl out of the blue. I don't know how to think about that. So I'm going to take offense to it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a Jamaican in me. I don't know at all. But I completely agree with you that many times people take offense to being called girl and boy, knowing that it is from Jamaica. We were
yeah.
born and
And
raised in it.
Ari, if
Yeah.
we should observe a little how Jaden speaks,
Right.
he has his little
Yeah.
accent, and
Yeah, yeah, this is
Jaden, tell us
accent.
about how you try to manage that accent along with the Jamaican Creole, and
Okay, well, so my mother works for the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs. So, we travel a lot. She gets sent on posting. And so my accent, of course, is influenced by being in America for such a long while. But
Okay.
I think that Jamaicans as a whole, we often put a negative connotation on our own speech, which I think is giving a message to all that it's something negative to speak in, the education realm or a professional setting, which I really don't think should be the case. I feel like we tend to turn away from using it in a professional setting because we seem it as uh, out of order or just vulgar in some way. And if we're thinking that you can't, of course, other countries are going to think that as well. So I feel like the second that we start embracing our our own speech, then it will be embraced all over as well. But
yeah.
Right.
as Ari
And
said, I do
Scully,
agree that you should be using English as like proper English as well to get well-roundedness.
Right. That's
Scully, see,
true.
one of your claims that you actually made about that the students are learn better when they're taught in their native language.
Right.
I've read a article that the Observer post. I think it's in 2017, if I may wrong, if and
Mhm.
it was saying that students and teachers at the University of the West Indies were talking about she's teaching the students in standard English, and a student said, Miss, I'm not understanding anything you're saying. So, and when she taught, actually taught the class in the part where, the level of engagement was there and the class was very active and fun. So, you know,
Right. Of
that
course.
was a solid claim. So I think, yeah, we all learn better when we are talking our native, we are taught in our native language and so on. Time may be against us, but, is there anything else anyone want to add before we close this lovely discussion?
I think I'm pretty solid.
Yeah, I think I'm good too. But as I said, it is good to know both practice standard English, but never forget where you're coming from. So Creole, it's very important coming from the Caribbean. So that is it for me.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, people, we have to go. Here you have it from our guest speakers, Ariana Bagalu, Jaden Scully, and myself. So, in conclusion to all this, or in a nutshell, the answer to the ongoing debate of whether or not Creole or Patois should be an official language is yes. We all agree, despite Ari had her counterclaim earlier on. We all
I see,
agree.
miss you.
So, in the fact should be points being that students learn more efficiently when lessons are taught in their first language. It would provide the nation with a sense of inclusiveness, and lastly, provide the nation people with a sense of identity. People in the Caribbean as a whole struggle with cultural identity, and so why must they be deprived of something so simple as the official implementation of their language? The arguing points have been disproven. It is time to make a change. Let us make
Yes, sir.
Creole an official language in the Caribbean. I must
Right.
say special thanks to my guest speakers, Ariana Babalu and Jaden Scully,
Of
and
course. Of
also to
course.
our
Right.
listeners.
Thank you for
And
having us.
yeah, yeah, and also to our listeners on jadbuzz.fm. Guess what? See you next time on Triple Chat. Bye bye.
Okay, bye guys.
Triple chat, triple chat, triple chat, triple chat, triple chat.